Alright, so now we're going to be installing the magnetometer into the wing of this airplane. This is a G3 Cirrus, so we're going to be using the longer one of these brackets. So it's pretty cool, just goes up against the spar there, and it will put these glue pads exactly where they need to go. So according to the manual, I need to be about 12 inches away from the end of the wingtip. Got my 12-inch ruler here. Put that up against there, and then I'm going to make a mark right there. It's 12 inches plus or minus 1, so as long as I'm pretty close to that line, that should be good. Just make sure that this fits before we go any further, before we mix up the glue. Does not fit. Okay, I'll move the camera. Alright, so I'm going to start doing the magnetometer install now, and Avidyne gives you this nice bracket with these little pads that get glued into the wing, and you just stick them in there. We'll put some click bond on there and put it up in the wing. Now this is a G3 Cirrus, so I need to be about a foot away. See, I've already made a mark there, but all I did was I took my 1 inch, or my 1 foot ruler rather, put it up against the end there, made a mark, and I'll just use that to align the bracket. So 12 inches from that mark to the end of the wing, or to the structure, and they give you 12 inches plus or minus 1, so as long as I'm pretty close to that mark, we should be good. Just do a test fit here to see how it fits. About there, that looks good. Alright. I'm going to peel the adhesive off of these stickies. Alright, all the adhesive has been peeled off of these brackets that get stuck up to the roof there. I've already cleaned the whole area, prepped it. It's ready to go, so I'm going to mix up my glue, put the glue on the pads next. Two-part epoxy, clip-on CB200. Comes in the kit, so I'm just going to mix it up again. Now this will smear around. Just make sure you get some good coverage on there, but it'll squeeze out. Alright. So I'm just going to pop these into place. Alright, here we go. To get it out of position. About there. Push it up. Okay, and then we're going to push these right up against. Now, should good. Excellent. So I don't know if you can see that, but these pads will stay in place until the glue dries. I'm gonna let that sit overnight, and when I come in the morning I will check it and see how it went. Okay, today is the next day after the glue has cured. So we're going to see about trying to remove these standoffs that are supporting it, and hopefully they come off alright, and then our standoffs will be right where exactly we need them. Alright, the next step for the magnetometer is we've got to run the wiring harness out to the wing. It's been pinned with a 9-pin D-sub, and there's about 30 feet of wiring here. That has to get run from inside the cabin down through the center, underneath the center console here, down under the floor. I gotta take out the air conditioning condenser here, take the cover off, open that all up. The wiring harness runs under the floor there, and then it runs outside the airplane, and underneath here there's a conduit that runs down the length of the wing. You can see right there. So it's going to be inside that conduit, and that runs the whole length of the wing all the way over here, and then it comes out. You can see the original magnetometer wiring coming out right there, and then it goes through a hole in the spar, and then makes its way over to our magnetometer that we just installed. So I'll take apart the air conditioner so you can see what that looks like, and I'll be right back. Alright, here we are in Cirrus. I took the cover off the air conditioner, the fan, and the condenser, and the wire bundle runs underneath this. It's a little bit of a trick to get this out. So the cover is held on with 4 bolts, just a regular 3/8 socket. There's a couple covers here, and then there's a couple other bolts that have to come out, so go ahead and take those. So this is loose now. I'm not going to disconnect any of the Freon lines here. Those all stay connected, but you should be able to get this up off the ground enough that you can put a piece of wood underneath it to keep it up. Actually, this can be disconnected. Alright. Try not to damage anything. Now you also have to be careful. There's a vent tube at the bottom here, a drain line for the condensation. And you want to make sure that you get that off before you forget about it, because those lines are, you find them broken all the time. Because people take that tube off, like I almost did, and you forget that it's there. You snap it off the bottom, and then all your condensate will drain into your belly instead of out the bottom. There we go. So, shove a block of wood under there, like so. And now you've got access to the belly. And let me move the camera here so you can see a little better. So that yellow tube right there, that is where the conduit joins up to the airframe. So we got to get our wires through that yellow tube, and once it's in there, it'll go through the conduit. Now, what we're probably gonna have to do is feed some sort of like a snake from the outside of the plane to the inside, because trying to push wires through that tube is going to be tough. So I'll have to go get a helper to do that part, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Okay, so my plan now is I got the snake run through the wing, through the conduit. It comes out down there. I'm going to run this wire through the center harness and over to that snake. I put a little bit of tape on the end here just to keep the wires together so they don't get, you know, caught on anything. So let's see what I can do here. So this is going to go to the number 2 magnetometer, which is going to go to the right hand side, the MFD on the right side, or I guess PFD number 2. So to do that, I'm going to try my best to follow the existing trunk down the center there on the right hand side, which is where the other magnetometer wires are. So let's see if we can get this routed through here nicely. Seems like a pretty good length there. I may give it, because then I'll have a bit of a service loop and have it come out. So, all right, that's the first step. All right, I've got the wire run now. So, magnetometer, nice big service loop, because there's plenty of wire there. So we'll tighten that up. So it runs down the right side here. Follow that harness down, goes through this 8L clamp, and then you go all the way down this main harness down here under the floor. It routes under the floor and it comes out right here, and I will zip tie it into that harness later, but loosely run there. Alright, now if I can get this down in here, you should see this yellow tube here. I have to get it through this yellow tube because what we did was we pulled that yellow tube out of, let's see if I can get this in here. Anyway, so right there, you should be able to see, this is where the yellow tube goes into the conduit in the wing. You have to pull that tube out to be able to fish the wires through that, because it makes a sharp bend after it goes underneath the floor here, and you can't really force the wires through there. So I have a snake run right here next to it. So after I get it through the yellow tube, I'm going to attach it to the snake, and then I'll be able to pull it the rest of the way through the conduit. Those look like they're up there pretty good. So here's our magnetometer. Go ahead and put this in here, making sure that the forward arrow is facing the spar. And it's going to line up with those slots, the screw holes. going to use our brass hardware to do that with a non-magnetic screwdriver. One more. Nice. It looks like it's going to line up real good. Alright, so I'm just going to snug these up a little bit, but I'm going to leave them loose because we'll have to adjust after we get the plane running. Take it outside. I'll tighten it down and I'll loosen them up a little bit just so I can rotate this to get it lined properly. Alright, so I should be able to rotate it slightly. Yep, good. And then this is your OAT probe. This gets attached to the access cover here. So I drilled a 5/16 hole in the cover. This will go right in here. I'm going to leave it out for now, just so it's not in the way while I'm installing the wires. And yep, that's it. Magnetometer installed. Alright, so this is the wires run through the conduit. We have finished wiring, or running wires through the conduit. As you can see here, there's the wires coming out. There's the original magnetometer harness in that silver harness, and the new one is right next to it in the white. There's also the fuel sender wires there, so they go through some grommets in the spar there, and then they make their way over here to this access panel. And you can see the wires coming through the spar. And then we follow the harness for the original magnetometer. There's the disconnect for that. If I rotate around here, you can see the original magnetometer is right there. And then I was provided with some sticky zip tie holders, so I put those on the ceiling over there. You can see the new magnetometer off in the distance. And disconnect that. Come over here, I've got my wires ready to go. I'm going to terminate them with the new connector for the new magnetometer. See that? So here it is, and my plan is I'm going to zip tie the new connector, harness, and everything right there. These after I terminate this. So that'll be my next step. Get the wires prepped and get the connector on there, and I'll show you how that goes. Alright, today we're going to be terminating the wires for the magnetometer. I went ahead and figured out which wire was which. This is probably the first rev of this harness, so there's no wire numbers on it yet, but I went ahead and rang out the other end of it so I could know where I'm going. Here's the connector. It's got the contacts are inside there as well. Alright, so there can be a whole bunch of contacts, more than I need. Pull this out here. This military style olive drab connector that they use for all the magnetometers. So go ahead and put this on. You want to make sure you put the back shell part on first before you start doing anything, because if you forget to do that, it's annoying, so don't do that. And there's a couple pieces in here that have to get put on first. So. Okay, so there's the finished product. Got the wires tied up, a bit of a service loop there, so you cut the zip ties, pull it out if you need to get access to it. This magnetometer is still loose here, so I can make adjustments later on for the calibration procedure. But kind of center it roughly there for now. And yeah, we'll just have to do that later. But for now, this is done.